Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising, session 401, as we've been gathering together over the last year and a half and just bringing the world together. And as we traverse the days and the weeks and the months, we try to take note of various things that have happened that are current in the world or an anniversary. And this week, we want to just note two things that happened yesterday, many years ago in the Second World War. One is the liberation of Auschwitz, a death camp constructed by the Nazis to be both a work camp for the big German industrial machines and conglomerates, but also a crematorium where over 1 million people were killed and gassed. And it was just yesterday, on the 27th of January, 1945, that Auschwitz was liberated. And I want to just note one little vignette just to bring it to our attention, because it's a book that you can read. The commandant of Auschwitz, a guy by the name of Rurik, tried to escape dressed as a woman, and he was caught. And he was sentenced to die. And they brought in a British psychological, how you break people down, break prisoners down and extract information. And he convinced the commandant before he died to write the book, a memoir of what happened in Auschwitz. And I was in Auschwitz many years ago, and I bought the book there. And as it turned out, it was a cold October day, and I was the only person in the camp. And I sat literally with my back against one of the ovens, and I read the book. It took me all day. But I would recommend that book to you, Rudolf Hess, Auschwitz. And it was on this day, completely by chance, that Russian forces came across Auschwitz. They didn't even know it was there. And the SS had been in retreat as the war was coming to a close, and they found thousands of inmates, as you all know. It's also very important to note that on the same day, far to the north, in the city of Leningrad, the Russian army broke the blockade and the siege that had gone on for nearly 900 days by the Germans as they came into Russia in the great surprise invasion of Russia, as you know, in September of 1941. And Hitler ordered them to take Leningrad in the north, Moscow to the west, and Stalingrad. And he was so confident that he was going to have victory that he had cards printed inviting people to the Hotel Astoria in downtown Leningrad, where he was going to celebrate the great victory of the Germans over the Russians. And for the next 900 days after they attacked Leningrad, the Russians held on. And over 1.5 million people died. But the Russians never gave up. Just like many of the inmates, no matter what they went through in the death camps, they just simply did not give up. And some survived. Many historians consider the siege of Leningrad a genocide because it was a concerted attempt by the Germans. They decided not to take the city as much as starve the city and 1.5 million people through pestilence. And yet they survived. It's a remarkable testament to the human spirit, whether it's the death camps or the siege and destructiveness of war, that there's some nobility in the human spirit. There's some tenacity in the human spirit for life that can endure almost anything. As Nietzsche said, if you have the why, you can endure anyhow. And that is what we want to celebrate today as we just commemorate by an activation of our memory of both the destructiveness that our species is capable of, but also the nobility of which we are also capable. Sometimes they come in a clashing of the opposites that generates an energy that ultimately redeems. So it's in that spirit that we want to commemorate both these events on the 28th day of January in the year 2022. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I would like to now invite back Joy Gilfillan, who's prepared a 3-day program. Today is day 2 of a program that she's convening on intentional change. And Joy will be guiding us in our opening meditation and then moderating our program for today. And then when it's over, I'll circle back, as I always do, for dialogue and questions and comments from all of you. But thank you all for joining. Thank you, Joy, for everything you've done to build Humanity Rising. And I turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Jim. I'm thrilled today to have an opportunity to do an opening meditation, and it's going to be a little different than what most people do because I'm very earth-centered. I grew up on a farm in Eastern Washington, and I'm very connected to trees. And there was some work that I've done recently with several people who many of you have met. But the person that I want to commemorate this meditation to is actually Noemi Band. She's a person who survived Auschwitz and Buchenwald. She came to the United States. She became a teacher. There's a book coming out about her shortly by one of the people who's a part of Humanity Rising. You'll hear more about her. But one of the questions she asked, she gave a talk to my teenagers, or they were 8th graders at the time. And I have always been heavy-hearted over what happened in Auschwitz and what happened in Germany. And she came and she spoke to these kids, and she talked about the humanity that she found in the center of that, because there was so much courage and faith that came with the people who went through Auschwitz and Buchenwald and all this horrific stuff. And she spoke to the love that she had for humans in the aftermath of that. So if you would close your eyes, I want to share with you a way of seeing the world as a living system, and seeing the universe as a living system, and seeing yourself as a human system in the center of it. And imagine the tree of life, and you are the trunk. And in the center of the trunk of your tree is your heart. And your heart has multiple compartments, but there's a green and a pink side of your heart, your inner and your higher heart, higher and lower, whatever you want to call it. And it pumps blood and energy throughout your entire body. It's the water is moving here, the electromagnetic force field is moving through here, your ions, your charges, everything is moving. And it's controlled through your brain and the centrifuge that's up in the center of your brain. And then from your brain, you have sensory systems going out from your head. All of your hair is a sensory apparatus. You pick up energy through your hair. You can imagine that you've got this open, almost like a satellite dish that opens at the top, the crown chakra of your body. And up there are the branches of the tree that go out into the universe. And out in the universe are electromagnetic impulses and sound waves, and we are spinning at such a rapid rate of speed around the universe, and the whole universe is spinning and everything's spinning. We are spirals upon spirals. So imagine that those spiral energies are just delightful, and they're raining down beautiful energy through the sun rays, through the top of your head. It's coming down through your brain, left and right hemisphere. The energy is coming down through your neck, connecting with your spinal column and your brain stem, and the energy is running down your spinal cord and out through your fingers and out through all of your vessels, out to your outer body perimeter, like branches on a tree, but also like the way the tree is set up with rings going clear down to the base of the top of the earth. And then there, your trunk turns into these roots that go out, mycelium, the whole cornucopia of life that lives below the surface of the earth. And there's an entire body of life and organisms and energy that's running down there. And through it comes your emotional taproot, because you love. We all inherently love. And let's bring that emotional taproot that comes from the outer sun all the way down through our hearts, goes down to the center core crystal of the earth, and connects up. And then you become this magical spinning figure 8 energy that's vortexing through your heart. And that energy is just moving and swirling throughout you, revitalizing you, making you rich and powerful and able to radiate love energy out, as if you were entire being, living, loving the universe, the people on the universe, and the universe is loving you. And hold that energy and just feel it for a minute. And if you want to hum your tune, because you're all muted. We can't hear you anyway, but you can hear yourself. So hum and bring sound through your body and love the flow of free, non-static, delightful energy through your system. And imagine that you're connected to all of us on this call, and that our energy is radiating out through the sound waves to other people around the world, and we are all connected. We are one in a living universe on this day of magical moments and learning. And when you're complete, come back and open your eyes and join us. Today is going to be a magical day. I have two guests that we've brought together, Maureen Edwardson and Lawrence Singer. And we're going to welcome them to the call in a minute. I want to share my screen and share with you what we've been doing the past 3 days, or the past 3 sessions, and then yesterday, because we did an intentional change series 1, 2, 3 in December. Today we're going to launch it, intentional change humanizing, because this is about humanizing. Auschwitz and Buchenwald and much of the genocide that we've done around the world, whether it's there or in any other country, that's dehumanizing. Let's talk about humanizing, because that's the opposite. So the series 3, 4, and 5, the first one we did yesterday, it was Humanity Rising number 400, talked about welcome home, inclusion, cooperatives, and laughter yoga. And many of you were on the call yesterday and enjoyed meeting James and Kara, Michael, and Shelley. It was a really very common community type oriented conversation where we were talking about how does everyone feel included, because it is through the wholeness of our community, the diversity of our community, that we become living, generous, awesome human beings. We are a living mosaic of life. So today we're going to hear from Maureen Edwardson, who has written a book that she'll be introducing in a few minutes, and Lawrence Singer, using inner resonance technology. And we'll be talking about sound and rhythms of sound. And then, oops, I went the wrong direction. And then tomorrow, or actually Monday, we're going to actually talk about humanizing, a growing up tale of 2 elders who have believed in peace, who have lived since the 40s, and yeah, 40s, clear coming up through today. And they're going to share their personal experience of growing up during all these intense, different radical changes that have happened in the world. And what have they learned about peace and generosity and growing humans and growing grandkids and, just working with people locally and around the world. And at the end of that day, we're going to talk about restoring communities, a campaign for change. So sit back, let's talk with, first I want to summarize where we were when we started this intentional change series. I asked a question when I was young. When humans are so magnificent, why do we underperform? As a human potentials coach, I asked the same question, and I started studying on why do we underperform. And there was a woman by the name of Nola Ayres that gave me a clue. And she said, when people are in fear, they clutch and then they make stupid decisions. And when people have the catecholamines flowing through them and they're relaxed and they're looking forward to things, they don't mess up. And this was a woman that I listened to because she was a coach of gymnasts, and she had a 364-1 win-loss coaching record. Extraordinary. So I listened. And from that, I got to stop touching my machine. I was able to put a piece into the spiral pattern that I'd been developing. I had figured out that the world works in patterns. Everything in the world works in rhythms and flows because we go from the point of inception or an idea to development, to growth, or to birth. We grow, we prune ourselves, eventually we die naturally, and we go back to the earth and the cycle continues. And this is just the way life works. Our world spins like that, the universe spins like that. Everything is a cycle of constant and repetitive change. So how the world works naturally in spirals is a core fundamental of everything that has to do with intentional change. In the upper right corner of this chart, you'll see that I have an organize, develop, integrate piece. That's a 9-step formula that I talked about in some of the earlier things, and there will be classes that come later about that. But basically, I drew it simply so that anybody could understand. We have a body, we have a mind or a conception of how the world works, and we have a spirit, a creative spirit to work with. In the next diagram down, the joy triangle model, we have emotional intelligence, and we actually are driven by emotions. Everybody tries to pretend we're not. It's just not true. Everybody, I don't care who it is, you can change your life by changing the set point of your emotions, which is the point. So we're not going to talk about it here, but it's just a summary of who are we, and this is part of what Maureen and Lawrence and we're going to talk about today. Then I developed a diagram, which is the intentional change model. It's the arrow diagram on the right that shows you the past, the present, and the future, because our future is not the past. We are in the present right now. We have a naturally organizing world now. And the only thing we can change is the future. Going back to the past is useful just for perspective. But in fact, it's the future that we're building from the now. Down in the lower left is that we have to break rank with patterns of teaching that don't work. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about Auschwitz. When we talk about changing and moving from the past into the future, we have to look at the past patterns that we've been replicating without thinking about it. We're preconditioned, we're trained. Let's get over it and let's move forward. So we have an emotional intelligence in summary. We have choice at choice point. We have catecholamines and bioenergetic intelligence to work with inside of our body. We can work with it with rhythm, and we can work with flow. So with that, I'd like to introduce Maureen. You're up. Oh, how do you like that? I use these. I'm just going to jump. Maureen, you're up. You're an amazing human being who I met about 10 years ago, and I'd like you to introduce yourself and introduce Lawrence. And when you jump to Lawrence, I'll scroll the screen forward and we'll keep moving.
Well, thank you so much for having me today, and all of the team. And it's a delight to share with everyone in the in the chat group and community, and share this next level that we are actually moving to. And as Joy said, we are not separate. And this is a phenomenal day. I just love the serendipity of the universe and of life, because it's always flowing in absolute perfect perfection. And 401 is positive change. It's a 5. So here we are talking about the future from the present moment. And I love what you said too, that we need to break those patterns. And it's not about being held back by the past. It's about the wisdom that we gained from the past and how we create something new, like Bucky Fuller would say. So in a few minutes, I'd love to share a little bit more about the inner resonance technology model. It's very simple. It will underwhelm you. And it also allows everything in your field to shift, because the body is an incredible miracle. The body has 100 trillion cells, according to Dr. William Brown of the Resonance Science Foundation, the Unified Field Theory Physics of Nassim Haramein. And of that 100 trillion cellular system, each tiny neuron has 100,000 potential connections. Each one of those 100,000 potential connections of each neuron has 85 billion wormholes into other dimensional realities. And, we are rocking, this is a quantum machine. And this is, as Bruce Lipton would say, or Nassim even would say, this is a radio receiving the signals, and we are just acting it out, right? So we're reactive to, and what doesn't get worked out gets acted out. So as Bruce says, we're all out of our minds, because our mind is in a field all around us, and that's where the signals come to create the outcome, the behavior where the body's here to experience. And as you said, Joy, from the now, we create the future. And so how can we do that if we're still in that, charged up, unresolved field? We can't receive the signals for inspiration and for creating something new in the most efficient ways, because at the conscious level, we are operating at a 5% awareness. But guess what? At that 5% awareness, we have 99.9% is looping up from the old program. So we have 0.1% access to original program beyond not to original thought and creativity beyond program. So, that's not all bad news, because not all the program's bad, thank goodness. However, we want access to more of who we are. And that's what IoT allows us to do in a very simple way, to bump it up into the super conscious level, which has dominion and access to all information in our quantum selves, which is available here. So a lot that we struggle with and trying to figure out at the conscious level, or work out through the body or process, that's just the long, slow, hard way. And so I'm here today to help wake up your magical selves that knows everything, that can neutralize everything, poof, of what is no longer relevant to you. So it's a magnificent opportunity to be less of who you're not and more of who you are, and then activate that, into the world, because we all need to show up, and we all have gifts, we all have brilliance.
So what's fun about that is that it isn't magic, but it is magic. It's like an alchemy. It's like the way the universe works naturally. We just haven't learned it, because we were taught not to go there. We were taught that we were separate from the universe instead of a part of. At least that's what I was taught. I mean, I knew better, because I was working in the wilderness. I was working with animals. You can feel things. And so I just kept it to myself and didn't talk about it. And that's, I think, why bringing Lawrence in and introducing him briefly would be a really delightful thing to do.
Yes.
So I'm going to slide down to the next slide. Is my screen showing the rhythms of the globe?
Not yet.
No.
Yes, I was about to bring Lawrence on as well, because
Sure.
it's a fundamental piece of who we are. Can't see your screen yet, Joy.
Okay, I'm going right there. Share. Here we go. Is that showing?
Yes.
Now you get to talk. Go for it, Maureen. Bring him in.
Okay, Lawrence. Lawrence, would you like to introduce yourself? You're an amazing human being in your own right, spiritual master of many worlds, although you may not see yourself there as the humble person you are. However, you have, you're on the board of directors for Unity Earth with Ben Bowler, and also you are on the production, you not on the production, you're the producer of the production team for Purpose Earth with Emmanuel Kunzelman and the team. And so, you know, blessings for your joining us and bringing your ability to dance and bring all of these rhythms of life together. So yes, please share with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's very nice to be here, and I'm honored to be part of the 401 program. So thank you, Jim, and Joy and Maureen. Rhythms of the Globe is an entertainment company reaching beyond geographical boundaries and cultural identities. I think that's probably enough. Yeah, and it's at 18, I thought I was sitting around at the University of Wisconsin hearing people talk about what they wanted to do when they grew up. Someone said, I want to change the world. And I thought that was a really good idea.
Lawrence, you're a little low. Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, sure. If I sit closer.
That's better.
Okay. So we're sitting around the room and talking about what, and I never really thought much about it. And when she said, I want to change the world, I thought that was a really good idea. And I grew up with sports. So the things that we talk about here and the things that Maureen talks about was not anywhere part of my life. I didn't grow up in the wilderness either. So I can't say I was close to, I was the only Indians I knew were the Cleveland Indians because I grew up in Cleveland. Cleveland Indians are a baseball team for those who don't know. And I went to Georgetown Law School because I thought maybe being a senator you could change the world. And I worked at Teddy Kennedy's office my first year in law school for 3 months. And after 3 months, I knew that was not going to work for me. Politics were not going to work. But I had a very successful political career, which I spent working in the mailroom at Teddy Kennedy's office on Capitol Hill. And I became involved in the arts after not having any connection with the arts growing up, and founded Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts in 1973 in Washington, D.C. And very close to the National Endowment for the Arts was just starting. So it was a very exciting time. And I became very active in the local arts community in Washington as well. And continued that in New York. And I've been traveling to Africa for 40 years, going to Ghana, and very much involved in the creative industries in West Africa, particularly music. And I was, I would say when I was maybe 40, I was instructed how to what I was supposed to do to change the world. And it was to build an entertainment company, because that's how you can get the word out to most people. And it's not a 50, Rhythms of the Globe is not a 501c3, it's an entertainment company. In the first project, we're producing a movie in Ghana. I went to Ghana in 1980 for the first time. And I started my own law firm. Had my own business since 1976. So I guess I could say I'm an entrepreneur. And the person cleaning up the office after work was Ghanaian. We became very good friends. We became brothers, for sure. And he said, come to Ghana with me. And I went to Ghana, and I never knew anything. I didn't want to go to Africa growing up. I never thought about it. I didn't go to help anybody. I just went with Isaac. And when I was there, there was a series of coups. There was no economy. It was a very, very difficult time there. But there was a spirit of openness and peacefulness and joy that I'd never experienced before. And I went back the next year and heard African music. I hung out with the leading producer in Accra, Faisal Helwani, and that was certainly life-changing. And something my life has not been planned, for sure. And I've been back to Ghana maybe 25 times at least. So I'm very familiar with it. And the movie in Ghana is to change perception. It's about what we talk about. There's no violence, corruption, disease, or elephants. It's a romantic comedy. It's about the people. It's about the culture, primarily about the music, because it's amazing music. And Rhythms of the Globe, when I had the idea, I can say decades ago now. It's celebrating the diversity of our planet in a new spirit of engagement and cooperation. And it's bringing out rhythms. And I never knew anything about rhythms growing up. I never thought about rhythms. But my life is really around rhythm. 5 Rhythms is do you want me to continue, or is that?
Yes, yes, thank you.
5 Rhythms is well, I'll go back to the, when I was 25, around 25, I saw a dance class for the first time, a modern dance class. And I had, again, this was, I grew up baseball, football. I mean, it was real sports. I played intramural hockey in college, whatever I could do. And I really thought, and it looked like people were really having fun. So I thought I'd take modern dance, which I took for a year. And I never thought that dance I'd become in more contact with my body, or become closer to the earth, or connected to the earth. It was never a thought, which is what happens, of course. But and I started to take ballet classes in maybe a year later, and I've taken hundreds and hundreds of hours of ballet classes. And I used to say it was for discipline, because it's very disciplined, obviously. But it's also a movement. It's a path of movement, and it's a path for dance. I mean, I couldn't do what I'm doing now without ballet. And it was an amazing experience. And I've had a very successful ballet career, I have to say. When I first started taking ballet at the Washington School of Ballet, the Royal Ballet came to the Kennedy Center, and they're looking for extras. So I was an extra with the Royal Ballet and performed with the Royal Ballet for 1 week at the Kennedy Center. One scene, I walked the dancer down or back or something, I don't know, but to the front of the stage and back, and I was on stage with Rudolf Nureyev for a week. So again, I had a very successful political career in Teddy Kennedy's office, and a very successful ballet career with the Royal Ballet. And dance has been a big part of my life. I've taken jazz classes and hip hop classes, and maybe 10 years ago or more started 5 Rhythms, which is I'll put this in the chat when I'm finished. It's a movement meditation. 5 Rhythms transcends dance. Movement is the medicine. It's a map to everywhere we want to go: inner, outer, forward, back, physical, emotional, intellectual. Reconnects us to the wisdom of the bodies. And the question that Gabrielle Roth is the founder, that she asked, you have the discipline to be a free spirit. And 5 Rhythms is a moving meditation. There's no choreography. We've danced through 5 Rhythms. And it's a moving meditation. And it's free form and improvisation. And there's no talking. And you dance by yourself, you dance with other people, you dance in groups, and there's amazing connections that are made. Amazing. I know people that I've never spoken to I've danced with them for 5 years or more, and we're connected. We know each other. Sort of no place to hide. So it's a great workout, because it's really 2 hours, and I have to say, it's also interesting and sort of exciting, really, to be able to dance with people that are 30, 40, 50 years younger than me, of all different kinds. It's an amazing experience. And it's very much that connection. It's what Maureen talks about too. It's the same thing. It's that freedom. It's sort of clearing space, like yoga, which I've done for a long time too. It's clearing space. And I think that's fine for now.
Awesome. Maureen, do you want to talk about that? Because I do want to insert a thought, is that during the course of my life, I went from, I used to dance all the time. I naturally danced. Then I quit dancing when my life got so busy, and my husband didn't dance particularly. And then I started to re-dance again. And it's fascinating that when you can dance and you bring it together with the music and you bring it together with sound and rhythm and stuff. And I know, Maureen, when you did a session with me the other day, one of the things you did was you had me imagine healing certain places in my body that were stuck. And then you had me do the movement in the space at the same time that we were doing the meditation. And it made me realize, Lawrence, that what you're talking about is exactly how we can both embody sound, embody music, embody everything while Maureen is talking.
Yes, yes, and I've always considered dance my soul vitamin, and and it really is so important to move. And I know, especially for myself, because I tend to get sedentary, working a lot online as I do. Way before COVID, you know, all my sessions and groups have been online, and yet I'm such a physical person. You know, it's so wonderful to have those opportunities. And then, as you say, Lawrence, to dance, you know, in community with others, you know, having your, talking about bringing spirals and vortexes together, you know, you are clearing space, and your field is fundamental, you know, and as you say, as you're dancing with people 40s plus years younger than yourself, that is such a gift, because we're in resonance with all of it. And so as that happens, that wakes up the memory of our 30, 40, 20-year-old blueprint, which is always with us in our field. And so it activates, because your body doesn't know the difference between real or perceived. And so it's such a gift to be able to do that in person. And yes, a lot of clients that I work with, they just, their process is to move. And sometimes it just happens spontaneously for people.
And
well, five rhythms is spontaneous. I mean,
Yeah, totally
And-
spontaneous.
And the whole point here, guys, is guess what? Before we got so smart that we put everything into computers and on records, and we did all, guess what we used to do in community? We danced all the time. We did dance. We would dance spontaneously around campfires. We would sing together. I mean, I grew up doing circle dancing and round dancing and square dancing, and it was just, and people could sing and chant. And I mean, dancing is normal. And dancing with different generations. What do we do as parents with our little kids? We dance with them. That's what we should be doing. Talk about building community. What in the heck are we doing sitting around in silos and separated and isolated and not human? So that's what we're up to. So Maureen, keep on.
Excellent. Yes. And the truth is, you know, energy is always moving. And any kind of stuckness that we feel is often unresolved issues in our field that, as I say, create static and all the old limiting patterns. And, you know, as you were talking also at the get-go this morning, Jim, about the history of the trauma, and that keeps us encased into an inability. Yesterday, we're talking about disabilities and inabilities. We are all able, we're all part of each other. Physically, we're breathing in recycled atmosphere from the beginning of time. So we're breathing in molecules of joy over there, of Hitler, of Buddha, of all the greats and not so greats, of Jeshua, Jesus, all of everyone and everything that's existed on this planet. David Suzuki, the scientist, speaks to that we're all part of each other physically just by breathing. We're breathing in the holographic memory of the universe. So it's pretty amazing when you think of the Native Aboriginal point of view, all my relations, because physically through the breath, we're breathing each other. And, you know, the tree roots, you know, all of the systems of the earth, there is no separation. So I am that, I am you, I'm that. We are.
I lost you for some reason. And in the meantime, let me
When
share
I take people through the inner portion, yeah, we're
Maureen,
breathing our portion.
we lost you for a couple minutes. Did everybody else lose her too?
We only lost her for about 15 seconds, Joy.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Imagine that.
She was out in the universe floating around somewhere. Come back in here.
Okay, well, you have your screen sharing up again.
Okay.
Is that good?
Oh, pull it down. I was just wanting to show while you
Body,
were
mind, spirit. Yes, no,
with it.
me, we, and all, individual, community, planet. And it's all there always at the same time, simultaneous, right? And so I love what I heard many years ago, that our duality and our concept of separation is, and to shift from duality into oneness is simply a perceptual shift. And so more we talk about this, the more we educate people, and more importantly, the more we support people in clearing all of the old constructs and the old trauma, then automatically and organically, we bubble up, in the joy molecules that we are. We are all love. We are compassion. We are understanding. I did a recent pilot project with some of my students and facilitators, and it was about activating our evolutionary codes, because that's the name of my book, Your Magical Evolutionary Code Unleashed: The Science of Inner Resonance. And so I was asking at the beginning, what are your superpowers that you want to evolve? And it just floored me, because they're so fundamental. I was thinking of, bilocating, teleportation, all these things, right? And they said love, compassion, patience, understanding, that is who we are. And we're all yearning to be more of who we are. And so I have a new program coming up that emerged from that pilot program recently, called Be Michelangelo, because when Michelangelo was asked, "Oh, how did you do that, David, over there?" He said, "Well, he was already in there. He was in the block of marble already. All I did was chip away what was not David, and he just naturally emerged." And so that's who we are too. We're not. I want to do an updated version of my book whenever I create time, and I want to call it "You Are Not Your Crap Magnet." A case of mistaken identification, right? Because, oh, I am diabetic, I am this, I am that, I am angry. No, that's not who you are. You are love, you are peace, you are all of these fruits of the spirit, so to speak. And what I love about this work too is it's so neutral that you don't have to have any spiritual beliefs. You're invited to bring in and connect in with what you hold dear and what is there for you in the unseen realms. However, people that are agnostic and atheist, they also can do this work. It goes across cultures and languages and race, because we are all the same. And so people insert their own beliefs, and the template itself is neutral. And it's pure science, right? It's who we are.
So can you do a demo with us?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my great joy. And yes, and then from there we'll come back and dance.
That's scary. No, go for it, Maureen.
Okay. Well, it's really simple. It will underwhelm you. There is so much science in this. And another time, perhaps, what's been in my heart is to come in and do a full, inner resonance technologies presentation, because I'm so blessed to be endorsed by Dr. Bruce Lipton. I'm on his website, and also made the cut, for the resources sections of spontaneous evolution and the honeymoon effect.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I've known Bruce for a very, very long time. And Barbara Marks Hubbard and I were, also very connected, and we were doing a lot of the similar conscious evolution. So she loved my work and really supported it. So I just feel really blessed. I have been saying for many, many years that my middle name is I just happen to be there.
The right place at the right time.
Yeah, with some of the greats, I feel so blessed to be connected in the amazing places that just show up for me. And that's who we all are. We're resonating at a soul frequency, and we're part of each other. So yeah, so I'll guide you through an underwhelming experience. Actually, it's not an underwhelming experience. It's a really, really super profound experience. And the truth is, it's inner resonance technologies, IRT, is a formula of questions that are all predisposed to yes, like, are you breathing? And so it's really not hard. And what it does, though, it acts as a catalyst to wake up the part of us that does know beyond all of the stuff that we get contained and limited by, because we are already there. The truth of who we are already exists. And so we can process at the conscious level, the subconscious level. Subconscious processes, conscious level process it at 4 bits per second, 40 bits per second. I think, wow, that's pretty cool, 40 bits. I'm rocking. Subconscious is 40 million bits per second.
Yeah.
However, the superconscious, the quantum self, is instant. There is no time. There is no space. So, what do you want working for you? So this allows us to create the conditions and then bump it up into the superconscious higher self region of the oneness, where everything is already known and possible. And then while all that's happening, it's sort of like a super duper defrag antiviral program for your human supercomputer. And so then while all that's going on, you just get to go on holiday somewhere, or dance or have a cup of tea or have a nap. Right?
So Lawrence did this also. Haven't you done this with her? I've done it with her, but you've done it with her, Lawrence, right?
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, yes, I have.
And so do you want to share anything about that? Like, I didn't ask you beforehand to come up with a testimonial, but I can say that it's been fun for me and it removed a lot of static out of my system. Do you want to just say a couple words before she does something with us?
Yeah, and it's fun. It's easy and it's fun, and I think just what Maureen said. It's just it doesn't have to take a long time. There's no time.
Yeah,
not defined by time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people
and it's clearing space. It's really clearing space, and when you clear space, you're able. And I've been clearing space regularly these days. So I felt a new energy from it, and I just started. Really, we just met a few, maybe last year.
I think it's December 23rd.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
So go for it, Maureen. Put us through.
Let's go down the rabbit hole and out into the universes at large. And leave behind all the static, neutralize all the space, and create a new level, what I call chemistry of wholeness and the frequency of freedom to be more of ourselves than ever before. And one small program note before we take off: to fasten your seatbelts, of course, onto the magic carpet. However, well, I just forgot, didn't I? So let's just go. Oh, I know, at the very end. I like to talk about the end at the beginning, because then you'll be off in space. So just a program note that at the end, whatever you're experiencing, most people experience more of a deeper sense of relaxation than what they're used to. I call that the chemistry of wholeness and frequency of greater freedom. So I get you to notice and marinate with that as we breathe in and out 360 from our heart centers, because we know, don't we, Jim, and all of us here, that the heart is the main brain and the heart is the manifester. And so clear in and out 360. And I take people through 5 deeper breaths. 5 is a program, because the first time subconscious gets something different and new, it goes, what? How did that happen? I didn't have to work hard at anything. Like, really? And how long is this going to last? Wow, I feel amazing. Wow. And so there's that doubt, that hesitancy. Second and third time information gets experienced and received on the logical and emotional sides of the brain. 4th is greater integration, nice little solid platform to jump up and down on. But 5, oh wow, 5 is transformational. 5 is the number of grace I found out 5 years ago. And so this is what's so amazing, is that this is all about effortless grace. It's a feminine, receptive technique. There's nothing to do, nothing to think about. beyond your conscious mind, beyond your body's need to process anything. So I just wanted to do those those program notes at the end. 5 is the number, it's the ether, it's the fifth element. It's the sacred geometry. It's 5. You can talk about 5 forever. So let's go on the journey. I could talk forever. Anyhow, so just being present with your breath. Let's just take a breath together. And breathing in the breath of life, the breath of oneness, the breath of all of everything that is, infinite potential in that quantum realm of the ocean of possibilities. It's who we are, breathing in our individual portion of spirit, limitless beyond measure. And just taking a moment to breathe in that awareness that this is who you are. From duality into oneness, perceptual shift of our main identity as spiritual beings having a physical experience. And also at this moment, an opportunity for whatever you have as your spiritual team, your personal beliefs that support you. And it's simple. They know who they are. They're already here. And we just simply need to invite saying yes and thank you. Yes and thank you. And so now as you're breathing with awareness of your body, just breathe in with awareness of where your body is touching the world around you. Knowing, as we said briefly earlier, the body is a quantum machine, instantly responding to what's in your consciousness and in your field. So we want to switch it on, because guess what? Trauma and pain and old programming and conditioning tends to limit us and contract us. We've just taken so much that we're holding on. So let's just switch on all the programs, all the full receptivity to open the pathways, switching on the programs that know what to do for us automatically. The operative words are switch on body, and I'm going to count to 3, and we'll have a collective switch on body. 1, 2, 3. Switch on body. Yes.
Switch on body.
Thank you for being our oneness body here today, Joy. And so now we're at the command center, believe it or not. You've plugged in your supercomputer to greater source. You have switched it on. It's at the ready. So what are we choosing? I am choosing. So I'm choosing freedom from all old conditioning, all old trauma, individual and collective, as I'm part of and one with all of that. I'm allowing all stress of every kind that is no longer relevant to this moment and needful to drag forward, permission and opportunity and choice for shifting. Whatever shift means to you, transformation, letting go, releasing. And we start with shifting what's not working, giving your higher self opportunity for that first. And then as we're processing through to the end part, you'll have opportunity to be your glorious self and see the world anew. Vision in what we're collectively creating as we rise together as humans. Hue is another word for God. It's written in human. And so allowing all unresolved issues that create static, that interfere with the greatest expression of our hearts, desires, and our hearts for humanity. On all levels of memory, your whole life, going all the way back to when you popped into the world, all the time you swam around, drinking up your mama's soup, right to the moment of conception. All of the ancestral memory of your DNA is also in your field. All the branches of all the family trees going all the way back. Also soul memory, past, present, concurrent parallel, future, all collapsed into this fresh moment of now with new level of choice, free and clear for inspiration and creativity and collaboration. What a concept. And allowing that memory of collective molecules of memory of the whole planet from the beginning of time, and galactic memory. We can talk more about that. And the whole memory of the cosmos. We're part of and one with it all. Like, wow. And so now we're allowing all aspects of who we are in any ways that unresolved issues have been interfering with us physically. People have had instant spontaneous healings of long-term chronic conditions in this shorter time. So be prepared for a new level of freedom in ways that you hadn't even known were possible. So however unresolved issues are limiting you physically, emotionally, mentally, all the constructs of separation that are misperceptions, mentally, spiritually, financially, and relationships of every kind, because it's all connected. We are one. It's an entangled universe, some things more tangled than others. So here we are at the great untangling. And so are you allowing, okay, and here we're coming into the questions where you just say yes to yourself. Are you allowing all of your multidimensional selves to be coherently realigned in a congruent way on all aspects of who you are, in a whole new level of expression, being free to be more of yourself, being totally healthy, happy for no reason? Wow, what a concept. Abundant in every way, living the life that you're really choosing from your heart, being in service to all that is, waking up and clearing the way for all of the gifts that you have. All of us have genius, and it's time to show up. So let's just allow anything that's hiding out, anything that's limiting us unnecessarily to be dissolved, much like Michelangelo chipping away all the pieces that are not your magnificent self. Michelangelo is our higher self that knows truly who we are. We're in there. And so now allowing all of this to unfold. Are you choosing to allow all this to unfold in the safest and most appropriate way for you and all concerned at all times? Yes is the answer. Are you allowing greater ease and gentleness than you ever knew was even possible? Wow. Yes, just being open to a new concept of possibility is all that's required. Are you allowing effortless grace to guide the way to instant and permanent shift with every breath, with every second? And what is maybe not ready, to trust that all is well and everything is unfolding in divine right order, in its own way, at its own time, in the bigger picture that we don't have yet. And are you allowing the part of you that's saying yes to all this to be in charge? I like that one. And are you allowing the part of you that's ready, that's willing to be ready to show up and be more of yourself in service and passion to shift this planet together, allowing that part of you that's really ready for that to be in charge? And one last question, allow the part of you that knows how the heck to go do all this beyond your conscious mind's ability to track, never mind need to do or think or make anything happen at this moment, and beyond your body's need to process. There's no healing crisis needed here. We're already there, and we're shifting everything in the field so then your body can just be freed up to feel good. And we know from Wayne Dyer that good is just God with an extra O. We're all wanting to feel God within. And so now there's nothing more to do, everything to allow. And as this is all happening beyond your consciousness, in the super conscious field where everything exists already, everything is getting dissolved, neutralized, that no longer serves your greatest good or the greatest good of all. And just allowing that superconscious realm of yours collected into the oneness, all that is, to rebalance, create a whole new level of homeostasis, resonating with your soul and your spirit. Trusting that in the background, everything is getting realigned and activated. Direct action. IRT is all about direct action. Let's neutralize, poof, let's just allow. And then, whoa, magic together in all realms. From the greater truth of our most authentic selves and what we're here to support and to create together. It's already done. However, just taking a moment to be in peace, feeling that deep relaxation, moving if you like. Get up and allow your body to move spontaneously, dance. And anytime you might feel those molecules of joy bubbling up, a vision of heaven on earth, seeing everyone stepping up, dancing together in the 5 rhythms of life. 5 is that sacred number where all of life is constructed. Like the honeybee, the honeycomb, the most perfect number in our realm. Dancing with the sweetness of life. Freer to be more of yourself than ever before. Feeling that chemistry of wholeness on a whole new level. It is so easy. So I invite you to notice how you're feeling. And choose a spot. Let's choose our hearts. You can transfer it any other time. You can also include another spot, but the heart is the heart of the matter. And matter does matter through the heart. So as you touch your hearts, I invite you to take this whole new fresh breath in. And as you're breathing out, just let your hand drop. And breathing in a second time as you touch your heart. And breathing out, letting go. Third time, breathing in and touching your heart. And breathing out, just letting release. 2 more times, breathing in and touching. And breathing out, letting go. Breathing in and touching. And breathing out, letting go. Whew. I have that magical number, 3 minutes past 9. So, Lawrence, when you're ready, please join us. And if there's anything you'd like to share about 5 rhythms or any of the music, I don't know. We just talked about the possibility, but we're in the moment, so it's all good.
And I would invite you, Lawrence, to segue into all the direct actions that you're taking, because it's what we're here for today is really helping us moving in, every person moving into direct action. So what Maureen did was just open some floodgates. So share some of the things that you're doing on a more global scale also, maybe with Emmanuel and other things that have moved, because Maureen is moving us all. And we're all moving us all, and we're all this living system that's moving forward. So help us see what you've seen and what you're doing now and how that ties us all together.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Maureen, as always. Rhythms of the Globe is about direct action. because it's a new model for an entertainment company, and it's how we treat artists, and it's about music, and that's certainly direct action. And with the Manuel and Laura, and Purpose Earth is an initiative of Unity Earth. And Unity Earth is a global community, which some people here are very much involved in, to bring unity. And it's a big community. It's a wisdom community with enormous wisdom energy. And really what I've always thought about, really what is bringing that energy out into the world. The wisdom energy out into the world, as Maureen said, and Joy, you said, it's all there. It's all, the method is there. The method energy is there. It's all there. All we have to do is reach out and touch it and flow with it. But Purpose Earth is a grant and mentorship program. And we believe that change comes from at the grassroots. And the grants are given to local organizations working at the grassroots who have can make real world community impact, immediate real world community impact. And also have longevity, because they're community organizations, and they're community organizations that not only activate their local community, but also reach out into the world. They're connected to the Purpose Earth, Unity Earth Global Network. There's a big connection with with these organizations. And we've worked with, Purpose Earth was launched in June 2020. We've given 23 grant recipients so far. We're giving out another, I think, 10 grants. The Empowerment Collective is an organization established by Nazreen Sheikh, and she's in Nepal. She grew up in Nepal. She worked in a clothing factory when she was 10 years old, and she left. The factory went out of business, and she left. And she was on the street, and someone came. She became a street person, and someone came up to her, and I think, who'd lived in Nepal for a long time. He's not Nepalese, but they started to talk, and he said, "How can I help you?" And she said, "I want you to teach me." And he taught her, and she speaks 3 languages. I think he speaks 7 or 8. She speaks 3 languages, and she established the Empowerment Collective, which is to eradicate human slavery. And she met the Pope last year, who's very much behind that eradication of human slavery. And a very powerful speaker, a very powerful person. One of the grants is a Re-Earth Initiative, a youth environmental program. She is a Universe, and there's a women's empowerment program. We also have a mentorship program, and I'm mentor to Unleashing the African Potential of Environment and Empowerment program in Botswana, in a village in Botswana. And Angelina's really done amazing work. And it's not only her village, the community, the village she's working with, it's also she's interacting with community leaders, tribal leaders, political leaders. So it's a ripple effect. We call it a ripple effect, and it reaches out really around the world. And that's direct action. That's the
Inspiring direct action is the whole point of this.
Yes,
And
totally.
being able to allow us all to participate, and don't be shy, because this is one of the things that I've learned from working in communities and working in direct action. I mean, a lot of times everybody talks about, well, community organizing, that belongs to the political realm. That's not true. When I grew up, all of our Grange Hall stuff, you would celebrate anything when you had an occasion to come together. If it snowed, if it rained, if people died, if people got married, people come together naturally. We naturally gather. We want to gather. Right now, we're dealing with COVID and all these things that separate us and isolate us, and the grief of not being able. I mean, that's probably one of the one gifts that I'm grateful for coming out of this COVID process, is it made me so aware, and what it did is it shut the planet down, and everybody had to stop. And I've got a slogan called Stop, Look, Listen. assess, and pivot. It's called SLAP: stop, look, listen, assess, and pivot. And the whole point, and it's rooted in the joy triangle model. I saw that somebody wanted me to share that a few minutes ago. I'm going to share it because this is how we can learn to stop, look, and listen. We've got a habit pattern of going into the persecutor, the victim, rescuer. This is old Stephen Cartman trauma triangle stuff. It's a lot of the stuff that's part of our conditioning today. We've been trained to just shut down and mind, and if you don't do it right, you get in trouble. And what happens when that constricts, people blow up and they start getting angry and upset. So what we did as a culture, actually, over the last, I've really watched it accelerated since 2000, when the world shifted from a non-technical, we went through the industrial and we got into a technical world where social media was just tracking, man. I mean, it was going crazy. Our entire world shifted. And so we went into this space where, as a body, a mind, and a spirit, that started to get commercialized and sold as if it was something that we should go do, but we should do it in isolation. And that's just not true. I mean, we are living beings in a living world with living people around us. Why are we doing this alone? What you just did, Maureen, was awesome. That felt so nice. It felt so nice to be able to do this in a calm way with a calm person who is helping me remember that I'm part of a living world. And so that body, mind, spirit, when we bring it together, and then you start to dance, Lawrence, and you start doing these things in your rhythms and your dance and your flow and your motion, the world starts to change. And when you come out, you can be a builder, a leader, or an innovator. It's natural to do that. I mean, check with any 2-year-old. They absolutely are being builder, leaders, innovator all the time. And we keep trying to shut them down. Well, let the 2-year-old out, but do it with rhythm, do it with grace, do it with love, do it with joy. And that's what we can do. So I don't know. I felt like I needed to go there for a minute. But Lawrence, what you've done is you've really helped people move. I mean, I know you've spent a lot of your life dealing with law and legal issues, right? As an attorney, that's what you've done. The law is all about fighting. Well, what if we could pivot that around and build restorative community systems? What if we could actually help people do these things, putting grants and helping people who are new innovators, new entrepreneurs, new creative people, bringing them forward is incredible. And teaming people up, Maureen, helping us to see that we can team up across platforms instantly. And we can do this because we're bioenergetic beings. So back to you, Maureen, or Lawrence, whoever wants to talk next. And let's see if in the next couple minutes we can bring Jim in and see if he wants to participate. But Maureen, do you want to say something to close up what you just did?
Well, what I'd love to share is that I'm having trouble sharing my link, as I was asked to do for my upcoming program, Be Michelangelo. I was going to say be like Michelangelo, but no, we're being Michelangelo. There's no separation, right?
So where's the link?
So the link, I am not able to find it at the moment. So I put in the chat that I have it, but for some reason, I don't know. I'm not super techie, can transfer from where it is on my computer into the chat. It's not happening right now. So in the expanded universe, if anyone goes to my website, maureenedwardson.com, and sends me some info from the from the website request for the link, then I will also gift you with a personal complimentary session of IRT, which is my greatest service and my greatest joy. And I love being generous that way. So so please feel free to contact me through my website, ask for the information, and we'll expand from there.
So do you have closing comments, Lawrence, before we invite Jim in? Because I know he's going to have a question.
No, just a quick one. It's not about if we can do something or if we can create. We are doing it. We are creating. We have enormous power. There's enormous wisdom energy here, and it's very, very much needed in the world, for sure. And now's the time. We have an opportunity. We have an opening that wasn't really. I didn't feel this. I was waiting for this for a long time, but it's really happened. There's an opportunity to change the world.
One more program note. All the people in the chat action people, we're all direct action interrelated programs here, thanks to Jim. And so whatever projects are dear to your heart, I invite you also to in a quiet moment, do your touch breath. Everything's contained in the end result chemistry of your touch breath, and envision in the completion, go to the end result. And that speeds everything up as well. And before you sleep, when you wake up, anytime you get triggered, brings you back instantly into that next expanded version of yourself. So thank you.
So Jim, what have you got to say for yourself or us?
Well, I've been resonating with Maureen's term underwhelming. I think that is the term of the hour, Maureen. And it reminded me of just as a quick story out of the Old Testament. You may remember the story of Naaman, who was an Assyrian general, second only to the king, and he came down with leprosy, and none of the healers in the Assyrian court could heal him. And one day his maidservant said, well, I know this prophet in Israel that could heal you. And Naaman initially dismissed her as non-Assyrian, New Age thinking, but his leprosy got worse. So finally, he ordered the maid to bring Elisha, the prophet Elisha, to him. And the prophet said, well, if you go wash in the Jordan River 7 times, you'll be healed. And Naaman was outraged. He said, if you'd have told me to go conquer a city, if you'd have told me to do something really difficult, I'd have done it. And he threw him out. But his leprosy got worse. And his maidservant came up to him and said, come on, he's just telling you to wash in the river. And to make a long story short, he did so, and he was healed. So when someone like Maureen says, I want to share something that's going to underwhelm you, and it's like really simple, we tend to be underwhelmed. Sometimes the truth comes in such humble garb that in our hubris and in our self-righteousness, we want something commensurate with our complexities. And it generally comes down to clear intention, elevated emotions, in a spirit of gratitude. And if you want to breathe as well,
that's helpful.
That's also helpful. But it's ultimately the abundant life is no big deal. It is just who we most essentially are. And so I just love this image, Maureen, of Michelangelo, of cutting away the dross. And when Naaman was able to do that, he was healed. He was healed. So an interesting little tagline to the story, by the way. He was so grateful to Elisha that he heaped upon Elisha many, many treasures. And Elisha said, that's not why I did it. I did it for free. And the treasure was left there. And Elisha's servant saw the treasure and said, you just can't let a good treasure go to waste. And he stole it. And even though Elisha wasn't there, he knew from a distance what had been done. And the servant was struck dead. So there's many different dimensions to the healing process and to the complexity of life. and what is given away for free is sometimes just so simple. To receive it takes an act of humility we do not have until we're in such duress that we have no other option. So anyway, Maureen and Lawrence, the way you exemplified everything that she was talking about was just very striking to me. So I just want to acknowledge it and thank all of you for that expression. And any comments you want to make on what I just said would be a good way to carry forward the discussion. Maureen, what do you think of all that?
I'm very honored, and it's true. Complexity is of the mind, simplicity of the spirit. And Bruce Lipton also talks about scientific principle of Occam's razor, where if you're given a choice of a very complicated solution or a simpler one, you always choose the simpler one. And same way that Einstein said, an equation on the page has to be beautiful. It has to be symmetrical. It has to, to feed the simplicity in all of our senses. So yes, this is very simple and it's really profound and life-changing work for people. Yeah, it's such a blessing to share it. Thank you so much for having me today.
Mm-hmm. And Lawrence, as you contemplate this as a kind of a man of action in the world, you're doing a lot of amazing stuff. How do you apply these simple truths of inner resonance to the activism that you embody in the world?
I would have to say, trust the process. Not easy all the time. At least
say more about what it means actually to trust the process.
Well, it's what many of us talk about. I had a Tibetan monk stayed with me for 2 months over the last since August, and he talks about the wisdom energy and method energy. And the wisdom energy is what we talk about. What you just said, Jim. It's what we talked about. It's what we talk about. It's love. It's compassion. It's going out, then having ideas that go out into the world that are outside of ourselves, that benefit the world, that really benefit the earth, because we're here to make this better somehow. And that's really what I've always understood our purpose to be. And it's easy, and it's really easy. It's connected to the earth, and it has to be connected to the earth. And the method energy, there's a wisdom energy, and the method energy is what Maureen talked about. It's there. What Joy talked about is there. People call it, it's a field, it's a divine matrix, it's just there. And I was listening to a Kabbalah session, and the person that was leading it said, if you're going to ask, he called the creator, but it's the same thing we're all talking, the same field that we're all talking about. If you ask, if you need $5,000 to pay off a debt, and you say, well, I'm going to feel better if I pay this off, and that's what you asked for, and he said, that's ridiculous. Ask for everything. It's all there.
Mm-hmm. As one of the teachers said, if you're going to the ocean for abundance, you take a teaspoon. Wayne Dyer said this. Why wouldn't you take a bucket? So I told my younger daughter that, and she said, well, why wouldn't you hook up a hose? New generation.
Really.
And it's a flow with that energy. With that, it's energy. Really, Rhythms of the Globe it's come from a book called Rhythms of Vision, which is really about energy, and we're all energy, and how to change through energy. I have a summary I can happy to send to people, but it's a flow with it. It's a flow, and we can't deplete it. It's not going to. We can't use it up.
Yeah, in that sense, action is really non-action.
It's non-action. Yes, it's non-action. It's trusting the process. And I know the process works. I've done it a few times, but it's a continual challenge, continuing challenge.
So I want to speak to the paradox and the predicament that we find ourselves in, because we're living in a world of complexity. So sometimes when we talk about simple, or we talk about it's just wish for it, it'll all be here. I mean, that magic sounds crazy. I mean, Lawrence, that when you're doing the rhythms, you want to dance it. We come to this planet in the first place to be physical. I mean, what are we here for? We want to love being physical. So being physical means we're interacting with other humans. We're doing things with other humans. We're loving things. We're kissing the ground sometimes. Sometimes you're kissing the leaf. Sometimes you're reveling in that freezing water that you stupidly jumped in on top of a mountain because you didn't know it was so cold and you were hot. So you jumped in and suddenly you go, whoa, I got to get out of here quick. It is that thrill of being alive. But that thrill of being alive is complex. I mean, you go try to tell some person who used to run an old Maytag wringer washer how to go use today's modern washing machines with all those symbols and those lights and all that stuff. It takes engineering and all this fancy stuff today now to just push a stupid button that says start, right? So we've complexified everything. It's like what I've been working with in mass incarceration. So Jim, I want to speak to this because it's so important. When we are living human beings in the 21st century, 2022 specifically, like right now, we're dealing with a very, very complex, very real, very painful, very hurtful world that we've been in. And the complexity of diagramming what is the matter with that world. Because I want to go back to that original question. Why are we so magnificent and life is so simple? And yet we've managed to screw it up and build all this miserable stuff out there. I've spent my life trying to figure out how to go backwards so that we could get here, so we could spin it up the other way. So people like Maureen, you didn't get here because somebody said it was simple and go do nothing until you figure out how to make it work. You went and did a lot of studying, a lot of research. And so now you're bringing forward something simple.
And a lot of struggle where now I can help people ease the way.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, I want to talk about that word struggle. We use a lot of times that word struggle like it's some heroic thing. It's not fun and heroic to be in struggle. I mean, get off of it. Let's, just struggle if you have to, but just do the work. I mean, when I went out, cows don't get milked because you did push some magic wand. You actually got to go milk them. I mean, I know I did it at 4 o'clock in the morning every day for years. And Lawrence, when you became a ballet dancer and you did your music, you had to do the work. That isn't struggle. It's a joy to learn to become a master. So getting rid of that word struggle to me is a real blessing, and start talking about the joy of working, the joy of doing things, the joy of intersecting, the joy of mastery. That's what we can do. So tomorrow, I know we're getting towards the end here. Does anybody else have something else to say before I close up with my own promo? Okay, and talk about tomorrow. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to be talking about, well, let me talk about me first, of course. That's important, right? That's what they tell me. I always forget this part. Forgot it yesterday too. So my name is Joy Gilfillan. I've developed the Civic Joy Academy courses so that I can actually explain the science of intentional bioenergetics. Is one of the courses. I'm developing this and I'm going to release this to the world over the next few months. But the science of intentional bioenergetics is that spiral. We live, we grow, we become, because our bodies are entrained to do that, and we are part of a living world. The intentional change model is that pivot. How do we actually pivot from living into our past and our misery and the struggles that we've been trained that we're supposed to live through, and get into the joy of working out and doing tension and being in action, not tension, misery, but tension, you're striving to move forward. And then that moves you forward, right? It's the desire that's pulling you forward that allows you to create dramatic change. And then the biology of influence in the joy triangle model is about understanding that our emotions, my emotions are affecting you. I go, I mean, feel that. What happened to you just then? Everybody goes into resistance. Well, if we put a laughter in there and a smile and you create the joy of life, people around you get infected with it. That's what we have to do now, because the world is in trauma and we're scared. That's a habit pattern. Let's get out of that and start looking at if it could be done, how in the heck could it be done? Let's solve the problem. That's the physics of civics. Troubleshooting the triangles, getting into your intentional change tool. We sort of jumped to the front of the heap here today. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow. We're bringing on a woman by the name of Barbara Ledger. And how do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Barbara Ledger is going to be talking about her Peace First movement and how she's quantum leaping the idea of moving educational materials forward that she's done over the years. And she has a program. She's talking around the world in 80 weeks. I mean, who could think about that? That's like high-speed activism. That's exponential potential, and she's moving it. So she's going to be here, not tomorrow, on Monday, to speak about. She's one of those elder tale tellers people. And Irene Morgan is the other one. Irene has been the woman who was behind the development of what used to be called the Whatcom County Reentry Coalition, dealing with prisoners and people dealing with deep trauma and abuse and all this stuff. And we're moving people into a restorative community coalition movement. And so we're bringing on these two ladies that have lived 70 and 80 years in a real world of change. So they're coming on Monday. And I just want to say, Jim, this has been such an opportunity for us all. And I know you have a process for closing. Do you want to step into that and help us, or have Maureen do that? What would you like?
Yes, Maureen, why don't you close us out today with a IRT meditation, contemplation, and then we'll say goodbye.
Or do it quick. Give us a word.
Well, we are, yeah, in a word, it's the heart. And so just touching your heart, taking 3 magical breaths, breathing in, touching, breathing out, letting go, and just feeling all the deliciousness and the expansiveness and the inspiration as you breathe in, touching your heart, and breathing all of that out into the world. And one final breath, breathing in, touching, and breathing out with gratitude. And so it is that simple.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
And please do join us in that after chat. Stan keeps poking it at us, and it's fun in there. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.